In my previous life, I was plotted against by my younger sister and was made to offer myself to a cold-hearted young master. My younger sister originally thought that the Buddhist disciple would blame me for breaking his precept of celibacy and torture me to death, so that she could become the only heir of the family. However, unexpectedly, having fulfilled my ancestor. After one night, I married into a wealthy family because of my child, and was doted on by the Buddhist disciple to the extreme. Although my younger sister became the only heir of the family, she was deeply in debt. Driven by jealousy, she ran me over with a car and killed me. When I opened my eyes again, my younger sister couldn't wait to snatch the room card from my hand. Sister, I'm more familiar with serving the Buddhist disciple than you. After a night of passion, my younger sister couldn't wait to announce to the family. Mom and Dad, leave the family property to my sister. I'm going to marry the young master soon because of my child. Hearing this, I left. Inheriting the family property is definitely more cost-effective than marrying a pervert with a benevolent appearance but a cruel heart. This room card is yours. My younger sister couldn't wait to snatch back the room card that she had just handed to me. After confirming the room number, she kissed the room card excitedly. Fortunately, having fulfilled, it's not too late. This time, Hector is mine. And the top wealthy lady is also mine. I'll be the one that everyone envies. Sister, what are you still standing here for? Hurry up and get out of here. I'm more familiar with serving the Buddhist disciple than you. Looking at my younger sister's arrogant and overbearing appearance, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but turn up slightly. It turned out that she was reborn too. Although I don't know what you're talking about. If you want to sleep in this room, you can have it. I rubbed her room card and smiled meaningfully. She raised her eyebrows and said triumphantly, "You would just need to know, you should stay away from Hector in the future. He will be your future brother minus law. All right. You should leave quickly. I'm also sleepy. Don't delay my sleep." My younger sister glanced at her watch and started to drive me away. I smiled playfully. "Then I hope you can have a good sleep later." Sister, it won't be a good sleep, but the beginning of a nightmare. People in the circle all know Hector. He is a man standing at the top of the pyramid. In terms of appearance, height, education, and family background, he is outstanding. He has believed in Buddhism since he was a child, has a cold temperament, and is not interested in women. However, if he is really provoked, his methods are quite ruthless. In my previous life, my younger sister also had such an idea, but by some strange coincidence, Hector, who was not interested in women, made an exception for me. The luxurious wedding worth 1 billion made me the envy of everyone. Whenever I went shopping, he would always accompany me throughout the whole process and spend a fortune just to make me smile. Facing countless women who flocked to him, he was always cold and heartless. Dedicated and affectionate are his exclusive nicknames. I just don't know if my younger sister can stand his affection and dedication. At noon the next day, my younger sister returned home with a smug look on her face. The wrinkled skirt, the torn black stockings, and the hickey on her neck all showed how exciting her night had been. Mom frowned slightly and said unhappily, "What will others think if they see you like this?" My younger sister said proudly, "I did it on purpose for you to see. Do you know who it was last night? It was the billionaire, Hector. After a month, when the baby in my belly can be tested, then I will marry into the Victor family as the nestress directly because of my child." Her words were firm and forceful. Mom looked suspicious and said, "Is what you said true? Isn't Hector not interested in women?" My younger sister raised her chin and gave me a disdainful look. "That's all just rumors spread by the outside world. In fact, he's like a completely different person in bed, being extremely gentle and considerate." As she spoke, a shy look appeared on her face. Dad beamed with joy and praised, "No wonder you're my precious daughter. You really have the ability. We've always wanted to establish a connection with the Victor family before but couldn't find an opportunity. Now it's great." His eyes were full of greed and snobbery. Mom also excitedly took my younger sister's hand, and her voice was full of pride and doting. "I knew I didn't dote on you for nothing all these years. You brought honor to the family. My younger sister was extremely cocky and didn't forget to give me a mocking smile. Of course. The first thing I'll do after I become Mrs. Hector is to buy you a big villa and a luxury car, making everyone envy you. With this pie in the sky, Mom and Dad were so excited that their faces turned red. They began to discuss the wonderful life my younger sister would have after marrying into the Victor family. I lazily sat on the sofa and interrupted their imagine of the beautiful future with a half-minus smile. Sister is really amazing. How many sisters in the circle want to marry Hector? But none of them have succeeded. In the future, I'll be Hector's sister minus and minus law. Everyone will have to be polite to me when they see me. Before I could finish speaking, my younger sister excitedly interrupted me. You're dreaming. Don't even think about swaggering around outside using my name. If I find out, I'll make you pay. Suddenly she seemed to think of something. I'm not being mean to you either. Just give you the company that Mom and Dad own. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. I pursed my lips and swallowed the smile at the corner of my mouth. This is going much more smoothly than I expected. Exchanging a beastly scoundrel of a man for a company with a staff of 100 people is a great deal. But on the surface, I still showed a reluctant look. The company that Mom and Dad own only earns about $1 million yuan a year. It's not even worth a bag that Hector casually buys for you. My younger sister seemed to remember that the bags I carried around in my previous life were all worth over $1 million yuan. And her eyes couldn't help but become eager. That's because I have the ability. What does it have to do with you? Mom and Dad. Transfer all the company shares to her now. From now on, we'll completely cut off relations with her. Mom and Dad have always been obedient to my younger sister. They immediately asked the secretary to bring the share transfer contract, afraid that I would take advantage. They also called a lawyer to come and notarize it together. Here's the company for you. All the other things will be left to your sister. When we're old, we don't need you to support us. And don't even think about getting anything else from us. These were the words spoken by my own mother. In my previous life, I never understood why my biological parents didn't like me. Even though I was much more excellent and my younger sister and was obedient, making them look more respectable when they went out. But after dying once, I clearly accepted a fact. Parents' preference for their children can be unconditional. So if they don't like a child, there's no reason for it either. With red eyes, I pretended to be wronged and said, Mom and Dad, I don't want the company. I don't want to cut off relations with you. Just leave the company to my sister. I don't want anything. Mom snorted in disgust. I think you just think the things allocated to you are too few. Don't you realize that this originally belonged to your father and me? And it's our freedom to give it to whichever daughter we want. We've raised you so big all these years. Which is already good enough. Don't be too greedy. My younger sister gloated and said, Sister, give up. Mom and Dad will never change their minds. Don't waste your time. Hurry up and sign the contract. This was exactly what I was waiting for them to say. I pretended to sigh helplessly and lowered my head to sign my name on the contract. After seeing me sign, my younger sister stopped pretending and said triumphantly, ha ha ha. Sister, you didn't know, did you? Mom and Dad's company has a loss of tens of millions. Now that you've accepted it, all the debts will be transferred to you. I was still thinking about how to trick you into taking over this hot potato. You're even more stupid than I thought. I pretended to be shocked and said, Mom and Dad, how could you do this to me? I'm also your biological daughter. Mom snorted and fiercely, we spent a lot of money raising you all these years. I think we're even now. And Mom and Dad stood there without saying a word, pretending not to see. My younger sister started to urge, this is no longer your home. Hurry up and pack your things and leave. I'll only give you half an hour. If you exceed the time, don't blame me for asking the security guards to throw you out. TSK. She really hates me. When I saw the lawyer put away the camera, I also stopped pretending and stood up with a smile. Just throw those things away for me. I didn't go directly to the company. Instead, I stopped at the entrance of the community and waited for the notary lawyer to come out and send me a copy of the video. I had a hunch that this video would come in handy soon. For there were indeed quite a lot of problems with Mom and Dad's company. But it was just short of money, talent, and resources. But coincidentally, when I was in university, I was the president of the student union. I didn't have much else. But I had pulled in a lot of sponsorships and made friends with many capable school sisters. That night, I organized a dinner party, invited everyone to have a meal. And the problems of money and people were all solved. Then I started to make drastic reforms in the company. Those who had no ability were fired. Those who had the ability got a raise and a promotion. In less than a week, the previously lifeless company was completely transformed. Most of the employees were just out of school, and new minds were really useful. While I was extremely busy, my younger sister wasn't idle either. Her WeChat moments was filled with the flaunt of all kinds of top luxury goods every day. She would also go to fashion shows and buy high-minus and customized clothes from time to time. Mom and Dad had indeed earned a lot of money in the previous few years. But in the past 2 years, due to the economic downturn, they had also suffered a lot of losses. In order to support my younger sister's expenses, they even specially sold several houses in the city center. They were counting on my younger sister to marry Hector so that they could make a comeback. And my younger sister did have some petty trick. In the first month, she didn't go to find Hector. As soon as the time was up, she went to the hospital for a check-up and then directly went to the Victor family's ancestral house with the test results. Grandpa Victor cared most about his great-grandson. He immediately called Hector back and asked him to have a check-up. The baby was very healthy and it was a boy. So he directly made the decision and arranged for my younger sister to get engaged to Hector. My younger sister couldn't wait to call me and show off. Sister, do you know how big the Victor family's ancestral house is? It's like a palace. There are more than 300 servants alone. The baby in my belly has been recognized by the Victor family. They said that they will reward me with 100 million yuan as soon as I give birth to the baby. You'll never earn that much money in your life. The descendants of the Victor family have always been few. This baby will definitely inherit the Victor family in the future. And I will be the real mistress of the Victor family in the future. While admiring the financial statements that had increased this month, I said leisurely, then I really have to congratulate you. Sister. You've really risen to the top in one step. My younger sister said cocky, why of course. The gap between us two will get bigger and bigger in the future. And soon you'll be under my feet. I pretended to be casual and asked, is Hector good to you? My younger sister said confidently, needless to say, I'm carrying his child. How could he be bad to me? Grandpa Victor even told me that if he's not good to me, the old man will break his legs. He even drove me back today. He was so gentle. I sneered. Grandpa Victor still has the same attitude. In my previous life, he also tricked me into marrying in, saying that everything would be based on my own happiness in the future. But after I really married in, I realized how disgusting a big family like theirs could be. As for the one who dares to say that Hector is gentle, my younger sister is the first. I just don't know how long this gentleness will last. 5. The company won a big order. I was choosing gifts for clients in the mall when I happened to run into my younger sister and Hector shopping together. Hector, does this bag look good? My younger sister showed him a Hermes bag made of rare alligator skin. It's okay. Hector sat on the sofa, with his handsome face looking cold and his voice even colder. But my younger sister seemed to have already gotten used to it. She leaned her head against his neck and copiously said, you didn't even look. You're just perfunctory me. Hector frowned slightly, dodged to the side, and a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes. His expression remained the same as before. It's really nice. The color suits you very well. Only then was my younger sister satisfied, and she held the bag and looked at herself in the full-length mirror. Hector took out a disinfect and wiped from his pocket and wiped the clothes that my younger sister had just touched. I couldn't help but sneer. Is this the so-called show of affection that my younger sister was showing off in her WeChat moments? It's really interesting. That night, my younger sister showed off her affection in her WeChat moments again. There was a photo of her having Western food with Hector. And there was also a photo of the million-yuan Hermes bag she just bought. The caption was an ordinary afternoon became especially extraordinary, because of your company. It immediately set off a stir in the WeChat moments. Ava. Your life is really our dream. Sister. You actually managed to win over Hector. It's really a legend. When we were studying abroad, a foreign princess chased Hector for more than half a year. But Hector didn't even look at her. We thought he had become a monk at that time. This bag costs more than 1.2 million yuan. Hector is really generous. This bag was actually bought with my younger sister's own card, but she didn't explain it. Instead, she even commented below, Hector is really gentle. I couldn't help but sneer. My younger sister really likes to show off. Well, she has been vain since she was a child. Because of this WeChat moments boast, my younger sister became a popular figure. The top wealthy circle that she couldn't get into before are now very enthusiastic towards her. 6 in less than 3 months. I paid off all the previous bank loans and debts of the company. A newly opened live streaming track of the company became extremely popular because of the creativity of the college students. The monthly performance directly exceeded 100 million yuan. All the employees in the company were given an extra month's salary as a reward. For this reason, I was also taken a fancy to buy a big shot in the industry. He said he would take me to see the world and take me to participate in an overseas trade bidding worth 3.7 billion yuan. If it were someone else bidding, I would definitely just be watching the fun. But unfortunately, I knew about this bid, and I also knew the final offer clearly. Because in my previous life, this bid was won by Hector. And I also knew the design clearly. I don't feel ashamed at all for seizing the fruits of his labor. General Manager Hector. This is Claire. She did extremely well in live streaming some time ago, and became popular both at home and abroad. The big shot enthusiastically introduced me to Hector. He slightly lifted his eyelids. And a trace of contempt and disdain flashed quickly in his eyes. He looks down on all women. He is a proud and conceited man at his core. I then went and sat by the side. I neither tried to please him nor flattered him. And I didn't even give him a glance. The big shot gave me a thumbs minus up and teased, "You're the first one who dares to show him a cold face. Aren't you afraid that he'll target you?" I sneered and said meaningfully, "A clear conscience fears no accusation. Even if Hector doesn't come to cause trouble for me, I will go after him in a while. His company seems prosperous and clean on the surface. But behind the scenes, his ocean-going ships are involved in all kinds of smuggling and manipulating the stock market. I also have to thank him for not avoiding me when he did those things in my previous life, which allowed me to know these secrets. However, that was never because of love. It was just because he regarded me as his possession. A loyal dog. He would feed me to bones when he was in a good mood. And whip me when he wasn't. Oh my God. You actually won the bid." The big shot looked at me in disbelief and said it in a loud voice, attracting the attention of those around. They sized me up from head to toe. I smiled slightly and calmly said, "It's just good luck." The big shot wasn't jealous either. Instead, he showed off, "Your bid documents were just prepared. I didn't expect you to directly defeat the ones I had carefully prepared for 2 years. You're really a natural lucky charm." Hector gave me a cold look and then turned around and left with his secretary. Although he didn't say anything, the cold air emanating from him made it clear that he was very angry at this moment. When everyone saw this scene, they smiled. This is the first time I've seen Hector being frustrated. Well done. Exactly. I heard that he spent a lot of money and used a lot of connections for this bid. Truly, heading so selvmyadsi. Talents emerge in each generation. General Manager Claire. Let's have a meal together later and let us bask in your good fortune. Naturally, I was delighted to agree. Building relationships with so many big shots was something I had been longing for. 7. This meal cost a lot of money. But I also heard a piece of useful information. That is, Hector is actually not favored in the Victor family. The main reason is that he is too aloof. And he hasn't achieved outstanding performance since he took office. He also rejected several arranged marriage partners introduced to him before. So there are quite a few dissenting voices about him within the family. But because he has a girlfriend now and also has an offspring, he is strongly protected by Grandpa Victor. So this is the reason why he dislikes my younger sister so much but still plays along with her. However, having lost such a big bid this time, he will definitely be punished with the family rules again when he goes back. Whipping and kneeling in the ancestral hall. In my previous life, when he was drunk, he beat me until I had a miscarriage. I almost lost my life and received his family punishment once. At the same time, my younger sister's life also became difficult. She had been showing off and swaggering around before. And she also secretly mocked several top socialites in the circle, saying that they had chased Hector before but were rejected. This was of course the truth. But what was my younger sister's status to say that? So during the week when Hector was confined, my younger sister experienced the taste of being bullied. She was publicly splashed with red wine at a banquet. They said that the clothes she was wearing were cheap counterfeits and that she smelled poor. Even worse. At a birthday party, they publicly framed her for stealing a dime and necklace worth tens of millions. They insisted that she pay for it. And if she didn't compensate, they would call the police. So my mother called me after a long time and asked me to go home for dinner. Of course I would go. Otherwise, how could I watch the fun? Claire, when we said before that you should move out, it didn't mean that you couldn't come home for dinner. My mother said hypocritically, you are just too sensitive and competitive. You should change this character trait in the future, or you'll suffer losses. Come and sit down and at dinner together. These are all your favorite dishes. I took a look at the table and, rarely, there was sweet and sarsaparilla, which I liked. My younger sister likes spicy food and doesn't like sweet food, so I could only have this dish once a year on my birthday since I was a child. The reason I could have this dish on my birthday was that every time my parents would postpone my birthday to a month later, the same day as my younger sister's, she would blow out the candles, cut the cake, and make a wish, while I just watched by the side. For this, having fulfilled my answer, my parents compensated me with sweet and sarsaparilla to show that they weren't biased. My father spoke first. Claire, seeing that you've made the company develop better and better, you must have earned a lot of money, right? I smiled slightly and said slowly, it's okay. And net profit this month should be maintained at over 30 million yuan. Instantly, all three of them became excited. That's great. Your younger sister wants to buy a necklace that costs 13 million yuan. You can just give her 15 million yuan as a round number. My mother couldn't wait to order. I curled my lips and sneered, why should I? 8, just because you're her elder sister. My mother immediately flew into a rage and shouted, spitting everywhere, it's only natural for an elder sister to take care of her younger sister. You have to give this money today, whether you want to or not. I lazily leaned against the back of the chair and taunted we had a property notarization before, saying that the money I earn in the company has nothing to do with you. What you said at that time is just nonsense. My parents' faces turned blue and white, looking like a palette, which was really interesting. My younger sister put her hands on her hips and pointed at my nose and cursed. Claire, don't think you're amazing just because you've earned a little money now. I'm going to marry into the Victor family soon. By then, not to mention 15 million yuan. Even 1 billion or 10 billion yuan will be a piece of cake for me. Asking you for money now is because we think highly of you. When I enter the Victor family in the future, I'll casually give you a little something. And it will be enough for you to live on for the rest of your life. I know exactly what your lousy company is like. You must have used illegal means to earn so much money all of a sudden. If you don't give me the money, I'll directly report you to the tax bureau and make you pay the price. I spread my hands and smiled. Go ahead and report me. I pay my taxes according to the highest standards. If they don't come to check, I'll feel like I'm at a disadvantage. Seeing that I wasn't flustered at all and was so confident, my younger sister began to be less sure. At this time, my father started to play the emotional card. Claire, your younger sister was just joking. We're all family, so there's no need to talk about reporting or not. To be honest with you, your younger sister lost someone else's necklace and needs 13 million yuan to compensate for it. But you also know what our family situation is like now. We don't have that much money. If it weren't for the desperate situation, I wouldn't have asked you. That person said that if your younger sister doesn't give the money by this weekend, they will call the police. Anyway, your younger sister is going to marry into the Victor family in the future. You know how rich their family is. I'll make sure your younger sister pays you back the money then. It's always been like this since I was a child. One of them plays the good cop and the other plays the bad cop. I was brainwashed and PUAED in various ways. It wasn't that I couldn't see the truth at that time. It was just because they were my family. But now, they are no different from the beasts on the roadside. Nai sneered and said slowly, well, if that's the case, you can just ask Hector for the money. They're not short of this money. Besides, from my younger sister's WeChat moments, I've seen that she has shown off quite a few bags worth millions of yuan. If necessary, she can sell them and pay off this debt. My younger sister blurted out, how can that be? I haven't married Hector yet. Spending his money will make him look down on me. If my sisters in the circle know that I sold my bags, they will definitely laugh at me. Absolutely not. I shrugged helplessly. This won't work. And that won't work either. Then you can just ask Mom and Dad to sell some of their houses and stocks. And the problem will be solved. My younger sister said righteously, I've almost spent all of Mom and Dad's money. Stop talking so much nonsense and quickly ask the finance department to transfer the money to me. She didn't forget to threaten otherwise. I'll go to your company and make a scene. So that you can't do business. I was so angry that I laughed. If you don't have money, then go and borrow from loan sharks. It has nothing to do with me. If you dare to make a scene in my company, I'll also go and make a scene at your wedding with Hector in the future. My younger sister clenched her fists and stared at me fiercely. How dare you? I curled my lips and sneered, just see if I dare. In the end, my younger sister didn't come to make a scene in my company. In her eyes, 10 of my companies are not as important as her wedding with Hector. Huh. It's so ridiculous. The Victor family has been at the top for too long. And those below have been eyeing their position for a long time. They all want to see the scenery from the top. Of course. If the Victor family was still as smooth sailing as before, naturally no one would dare to be the first to take the lead. But after I snatched Hector's biggest bid, everyone started to compete for projects and resources. And I, the first one to take the lead, not only received a large number of project orders, but also had many investors come to me with funds and connections to invest. I'm already making arrangements for the company to go public. It's a bit of a pity that my younger sister didn't borrow from loan sharks. Instead, my parents borrowed money from their friends. They really do have a deep mother-daughter bond. After paying off the debt, my younger sister learned to be more low-key and didn't dare to be too ostentatious. But it was already too late. After those people found out that my younger sister was so easy to bully, they became even more aggressive. They said they would hold a romantic castle party for her and welcome her into the circle. But in reality, they locked her in a dark haunted house. My younger sister was almost scared to death and also had a threatened abortion and started bleeding. Only then did Hector arrive late. After scolding them lightly a few times, he took my younger sister to the hospital. The baby was okay. Just frightened. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Hector took the initiative to propose marriage. And it would be at the end of the month. My younger sister was so excited that she posted 6 consecutive WeChat moments to announce the good news. Not satisfied with that, she specially came to my company to show off. Seeing me looking dusty, having just come back from the factory, she was extremely cocky. TSK. Is this what my sister said about turning more than 30 million yuan a month? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have almost believed it. I chuckled and casually patted the dust off my body. Because the number of orders increased like snowflakes. The few factories I had cooperated with before couldn't handle them at all. So I acquired more than a dozen factories overnight and urgently arranged the production lines. So it was a bit embarrassing. But I earned more than 10 times the money I did before. I came here this time to specially give you the wedding invitation. My younger sister said and proudly took out the invitation from her bag. She even opened it specially to show it off to me. Look. Don't Hector and I look well minus matched? That castle behind us is Hector's, but trifly diff to me. Its market value exceeds 1 billion yuan. Do you know what this means? It means that once I marry in, I'll directly cross social classes and be promoted to a daughter minus in minus law of a multi-minus billion minus yuan wealthy family. This time, you've been firmly stepped on under my feet and will never be able to rise again. Towards the end, her eyes were full of excitement, and she was already imagining that wonderful life. I played with the custom minus made Rolex in my hand, and said meaningfully, why is the Victor family's marriage of a daughter minus and minus law so sudden? They even skipped the engagement ceremony. This isn't normal. The implication in my words was already very obvious. There were serious problems within the Victor family, so they urgently needed a reason to cover it up. And her marriage to Hector wasn't the beginning of a happy and fulfilling life as a wealthy lady. Instead, it was the moment she stepped into the gates of hell with no way out. But my younger sister didn't understand at all. She even accused me, "You're just jealous that I'm living a better life than you." I said jokingly, "As long as you're happy." Before my younger sister left, she didn't forget to mock my employees. "You'll only achieve this much in your lives by following my sister and staying with this lousy company." Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. Poor people like to stick together with other poor people for warmth. I feel uncomfortable all over after staying in this place for just a few minutes. It's full of the smell of poverty. These words were really harsh, and an ordinary person really couldn't stand them. But this month, their salaries had been tripled. Not to mention scolding them. They wouldn't even mind if someone spat on them. My younger sister originally wanted to provoke the employees and make them leave out of anger. But she found that the smiles on their faces became brighter and brighter. My younger sister was so angry that she spat. "You're all a bunch of losers." As soon as she left, I told the finance department that everyone would get an extra month's salary this month. Well, this is the humiliation fee. Great. I found another reason to give them more money. My younger sister's wedding with Hector was extremely grand. All the prominent figures in the Beijing circle, including the new tycoons from various industries, were present. The Victor family used to regard themselves as nobles, and were very precious. In their eyes, the new tycoons were nothing at all. But now they lack funds and good projects to turn the situation around. So they have to lower their stance. Last time, Hector didn't even bother to pay attention to me. But now he took the initiative to bring me a glass of wine. General Manager Claire. I was really rude last time. I didn't take the wine. Instead, I raised my eyebrows and sneered him. "What do you mean by last time? Have we met before?" A trace of displeasure flashed across Hector's face, and he tightened his grip on the wine glass. He had always been flattered. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? I curled my lips and sneered. Compared to the humiliation he brought me in my previous life, this was nothing at all. 11 Sister. What are you doing? When my younger sister saw me talking to Hector, she walked over nervously with a tense expression, and put her arm around Hector's arm to claim her sovereignty. Hector frowned slightly, and said in a cold tone, "Is this your sister?" My younger sister nodded and sneered. "Hector, was my sister just trying to cooperate with you? Don't pay attention to her. She just has a lousy company on the verge of bankruptcy. Barely holding on." Hector's already cold eyes became as icy as if they were quenched in ice when he looked at my younger sister. "Now my company is thriving. And the big shots in the circle politely call me General Manager Claire when they see me." So his sensitive heart felt that my younger sister was humiliating him with these words. "Sister, did you say something to make Hector unhappy? Why does he look so angry?" My younger sister didn't realize it was her problem at all, and continued to threaten me, saying, "I'm telling you, if you make me unhappy again, don't blame me for making Ava's company go bankrupt." She spoke brazenly and forcefully. Many of the company presidents nearby couldn't help chuckling when they heard this. Everyone knows that I was the first one to venture into the live streaming industry. So I've made a fortune from it. Many big shots in the circle want me to lead them in live streaming, including Hector. If Hector had wanted to crush my small company half a year ago, it would have been as easy as squashing an ant. But now, Hector doesn't have that ability. "Sister, look. Everyone is laughing at you for overestimating your capabilities. My younger sister raised her chin triumphantly, looking extremely proud. Finally, having fulfilled my sigh. There was a crack in Hector's usually cold expression. That's enough. Shut up. After saying that, he turned around and left. He has suffered a lot of setbacks at my hands these days. My younger sister picked up the hem of her dress and quickly trotted to catch up. Her flattering voice came. Hector, you really don't need to show mercy to her just because Claire is my sister. I've had a bad relationship with her since we were little. I curled my lips and sneered, saying slowly, everyone just heard it. My younger sister and I have had a bad relationship since we were little. Hector also seems not to like me. There won't be a chance for cooperation in the future. Uncles and elders who are free tonight can have a meal together. I'll ask the live streaming director and the operation team of my company to come and share their experiences with you. Let's make money together. The big shot's eyes lit up instantly. But they also understood that I was trying to get them to take sides. The old aristocrats were still hesitating. But the new tycoons didn't hesitate to stand behind me. When the power behind me grew stronger and stronger, the old aristocrats also put aside their pride and took the initiative to offer me a toast. General Manager Claire, you're truly a pupil who surpasses the master. At such a young age, you have more courage and means than us old folks. The younger generation is really formidable. I smiled softly and said, I'll have to trouble all the seniors to take good care of me in the future. In an instant, the atmosphere became harmonious and lively. 12 I established a business association. And the big shot who introduced me to the circle was elected as the president of the business association by me. Although I'm the vice president, everyone knows that the president is also on my side. It's just that I'm still young now. With all the resources and connections gathered, my company began to make rapid progress and achieved all-round development in various industries. I'm grateful to Hector's wedding that cost 300 million yuan, which helped me set up this situation. Like a newborn calf that isn't afraid of a tiger, I directly targeted the Victor family. I snatched projects, resources, and connections. And Hector, who has suffered repeated setbacks, is in a precarious position in the Victor family. Someone suggested to him that he should take the initiative to come to me and show some humility, and we could cooperate to make money together. After all, the Victor family was once the leading force, and a lean camel is still bigger than a horse. But Hector directly refused. He looks down on any woman from the bottom of his heart, even a woman who stands higher than him. So he could only vent his anger on my younger sister. After all, she is already married and a member of the Victor family, so she is like a dog in his hands. He is very good at grasping people's weaknesses and making them unable to live or die. Finally, having fulfilled my younger sister couldn't stand it anymore and ran home to ask Mom and Dad for help. My parents, who were extremely arrogant in front of me before, turned into cowards when they really encountered a problem. They called me more than 30 times in a row, urging me to go home. Between a transnational meeting and watching the fun, I chose the latter. Claire, your younger sister is in such serious trouble. Why did you take so long to come back? What kind of elder sister are you? As soon as I entered the door, I heard my mother's complaint. I glanced at my younger sister, who was curled up on the sofa covered in blood. She was in a more miserable state than I had imagined. I pretended to be shocked and said, "Who beat my sister like this? It's so cruel. Call the police quickly." "No. We can't call the police." My mother and younger sister were as rapport as ever. One's voice was as loud as a bell, and the other's voice was extremely weak. My mother, with red eyes, sobbed. "It was all done by that beast Hector. His company has had problems these days. When he went to socialize and drank too much, he beat your sister. But fortunately, the baby in your sister's belly is okay. TSK. Even at this time, what they care about most is still the baby." I can only say that Hector didn't beat her hard enough. 13 I lazily sat on the sofa and said with a half-minus smile, "Then why did you call me back? Do you want us to go to the Victor family and make a scene together because there's strength in numbers?" My mother quickly shook her head. That won't work. What if Hector gets angry and divorces Ava? As long as Ava waits for more than 3 months until the baby is born, everything will be fine. Alda also said that Hector usually treats her well. It's just that he's like this when he's drunk. It's normal for men to have great work pressure outside. I heard that Hector's company has recently had problems with projects and funds. I checked and found that your company has made a lot of money recently. And the orders are scheduled until half a year later. You should give him the money and projects. Then Hector will be in a good mood. And your sister won't be beaten again. I was so angry that I laughed. Mom, if you're sick, go see a doctor. I'll pay for it if you're short of money. My mother got angry. Claire. What do you mean? Your sister is in this state now. And you, as her elder sister, actually won't help her? Are you even human? I sneered. You were the ones who said that the company's situation had nothing to do with you, and that you would never help me. I'm just treating you the way you treated me. Why am I not human? Then what are you? Besides, if you really love your sister, you should let her get divorced and leave Hector as soon as possible. Domestic violence is either 0 times or countless times. I've made my words so clear. But I still can't wake up those who are pretending to be asleep. My younger sister looked at me with a ferocious expression. You're just jealous of me. So you want me to get divorced? I'm not that stupid. I won't give up what's almost mine to someone else. You must return the projects and funds to Hector. Or I'll never let you off. I raised my eyes and met her gaze without flinching. I gave her a provocative smile. Really? I'm really looking forward to it. My younger sister was so angry that she struggled to get up from the sofa and tried to hit me. As a result, she stumbled and fell directly to the ground. My mother was extremely heartbroken. Oh. My dear. Be careful. Your sister is an ungrateful wretch. A cold-blooded beast. She'll be hit and killed by a car when she goes out. And she'll go to hell after she dies. The words she said were really harsh. But I'm used to it. In my previous life, whenever I didn't meet their expectations, they would scold me with all kinds of ugly words. I was really sad at that time and could cry all night under the covers. Now I just think it's ugly and ridiculous. 14 Setting a trap for Hector is difficult because he doesn't trust the people around him. But it's easy for me. Because I know him too well. I used the identity of a friend abroad to acquire a small foreign-trade company that does international transportation. I set up this situation 3 months ago and spent a small fortune on it. Hector used to look down on such a small company. But now he is in urgent need of orders. The value of this batch of goods is high. The time is urgent. And it's normal that the liquidated damages are high. He even personally entertained my friend. My friend just casually praised that my younger sister was cute. That night, my friend heard Hector's angry scolding coming from the next room. You bitch. You go and seduce every man you see. You slut. Whose bastard is in your belly? I'm going to beat you to death today. You slut. There are many homosexuals abroad. And my friend is bisexual. He also brought me an astonishing piece of information. That is, Hector is gay and is the submissive partner. So he doesn't like girls and won't have a relationship with them. Instantly, my mind was like a fireworks display. Many things that I was confused about in my previous life finally have an explanation. Hector treated me well in public. But he didn't touch me in private. And there were no women around him at all. At that time, people even praised him, saying that the Buddhist disciple was really different. Moreover, his attitude towards men and women is completely different, especially towards some muscular men. He is quite enthusiastic. And once I saw him coming out of a hotel with a man. His shirt was a bit wrinkled. And his lips were swollen. No wonder he was willing to be a stepfather. It turned out that he wanted to continue to hide his gay identity. At the beginning of my previous life, he hated me very much. He often punished me by locking me in a dark room, making me kneel naked, and making me watch him skin a bloody cat with my own eyes. I had nightmares for half a month. He finally agreed to let me see a psychologist only when I almost had a miscarriage. After that, I always behaved very obediently. making him think that I had been completely tamed by him. Then I started to secretly collect evidence of his crimes. If I had been given another half a year, I could have made him infamous and fallen from heaven to hell. I really didn't expect that I didn't die at his hands, but at the hands of my younger sister. 15 half a month later. There was a huge storm at sea. And all the goods of the Victor family fell into the sea. The Victor family had to pay Sky- high liquidated damages, and sold off a lot of fixed assets, stocks, and land at a low price. In the business world, these are all normal situations. But the prerequisite is that the media can't be involved. But how is that possible? I spent a large sum of money to buy trending topics. And at the same time, I exposed the private photos of Hector and a man in the presidential suite. Now Hector is under great work pressure and urgently needs a man to relieve his stress. So I spent a lot of money to find the top guy from a brothel abroad. As long as I pay enough, I can get any kind of photos. As you can imagine, the stocks of the Victor family plummeted directly to the daily limit. It was useless no matter how Hector tried to explain it, using my younger sister. After all, the photos were high-definition and without any censorship. In the end, he had to step down from his position as CEO. But it was too late. Among them, I got the lion's share and became a figure at the top of the pyramid. I thought my younger sister was a sensible person. In this situation, she would definitely divorce Hector and get a share of the property. But she didn't. Instead, the Victor family continued to paint a rosy picture for her. This is just a setback for Ada. Our Victor family has a foundation that has lasted for hundreds of years. Eileen Camel is still bigger than a horse. You'll give birth into months. The promised reward of 100 million yuan remains the same. And we'll give you an additional reward of a seaside villa. It's your not worry. You can be the legal representative of the company. And we'll transfer 20% of the shares to you. In at most 3 months, our Victor family will definitely return to its former glory. Then you'll be a great contributor to the Victor family. In this way, having fulfilled the session, my younger sister happily continued to stay in the Victor family, and even became the legal representative. Now Hector also treats her much better. He is gentle and considerate both in public and in private. When I was preparing lottery gifts for the employees in the mall, I happened to run into my younger sister and Hector shopping together. Sister. What a coincidence. I can meet you anywhere. As my younger sister spoke, she didn't forget to hold Hector's arm tightly. Looking extremely cocky. TSK. Isn't this the boss of the prestigious Leo family? You're actually choosing an entry-level LV. This bag isn't even a fraction of the value of the bags I have. I smiled slightly, and casually picked up the newly released limited edition bag. There are only 5 of them in the world. Of course. The price is also very high. Yes, hell true. I'm not like you. You can buy bags worth millions of yuan whenever you want. I can only look at entry-level bags. Flattered by me, my younger sister didn't hesitate to say to the salesperson, I want this bag. Wrap it up for me. Hector's eyes narrowed instantly. Now the Victor family can't even make ends meet. And major banks are unwilling to lend them money. They can only sell some things they can sell to barely pay a last month's salaries. As a result, this bag cost more than 4 million yuan. Although he looked unhappy, he finally took out his credit card to pay the bill. 16 My younger sister showed off to me triumphantly. Women of different statuses carry different bags. For someone like me, the bag must be worth at least 1 million yuan. Otherwise, having fulfilled my ambition, it's just garbage. Now I'm the mistress of the Victor family. And Hector is obedient to me in everything. If it weren't for sister's promise to exchange the room card with me before, I wouldn't be able to live such a happy life. I smiled playfully and said, Then I really congratulate you. Seeing that you're so happy, I'm relieved. She snorted triumphantly. No matter how much money a woman makes, it's useless. In the end, she still needs to find someone who cares about her. Looking at Hector's back as he used 3 credit cards to pay the bill, I knew that he had reached his limit of patience. I wonder if my younger sister can't stand Hector's called care and consideration. Under my targeting, even the old man of the Victor family couldn't do anything. The old aristocrats have completely declined. And it's useless even if they unite. Grandpa Victor set up a dinner to invite me. But I directly refused. He was once a king. Now, being publicly humiliated by a junior like me, and already in poor health, he held his anger in and was directly sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. In my previous life, I didn't want to marry Hector. I could just have an abortion if I was pregnant. Even if I gave birth, I could take care of the child. But it was he who took the initiative to come to propose marriage. He also promised that Hector would take good care of me. However, after I married into the family, he acquiesced in everything Hector did and only left one sentence. Keep the child. Since the upper beam is corrupt and the lower beam follows suit, I'll destroy them all. Grandpa Victor didn't survive the rescue. He passed away, taking away the last hope of the Victor family. Hector's funeral was grandly held, but there were fewer people paying their respects than the waiters. The saying the tea grows cold when the person is gone was vividly demonstrated. That night, Hector settled all the old and new scores on my younger sister. At around 2 o'clock in the morning, my younger sister was taken away by an ambulance. She was saved, but she lost the baby. Her uterus was removed, and she had multiple comminuted fractures all over her body. It was a horrible sight. My younger sister, who had been rescued from the brink of death, finally came to her senses and wanted to divorce Hector. But Hector refused to divorce. He resorted to the same old tricks. Apologizing, repenting, and even kneeling. This time, he showed more sincerity and directly transferred all the property under his name to my younger sister. My younger sister began to hesitate. My mother felt extremely sorry for her and kept persuading her, "What's the use of having so much money? Life is the most important thing. You can earn money in the future, but you only have one life. Once it's gone, it's really gone." Seeing me watching the scene as an onlooker, she became furious and said, "I asked you to come to persuade your sister. What are you standing there for?" 17 I sneered and said slowly, "If my younger sister gets divorced, she'll be a second minus hand woman. Which man will dare to marry her in the future? Moreover, with her uterus removed, she's no longer a complete woman. If she can't have children, who will take care of her in her old age? Do you think you and Dad can take care of my younger sister for her whole life?" Hearing this, my mother was so angry that her face turned pale, and she reached out to hit me. "Beast. You beast. How can you talk about your sister like that?" I directly grabbed my mother's wrist. There was a smile on my lips, but my eyes were as cold as ice. These were exactly the words she said to me in my previous life. Why can't I say the same to my younger sister? When my mother met my gaze, she shivered in fear. "I'm the CEO of a listed company now. I make tens of thousands of you on every minute and I'm very busy. Don't call me again in the future. I won't answer either." After saying these words, I turned around and left. I let my mother and younger sister's angry roars come from behind me. I've watched the fun, and it's time to close the net. I held the company's anniversary celebration very grandly. I not only prepared gifts for each employee of the company but also invited many bosses in the circle. They were also very obliging and all attended in formal attire. Of course, I also invited Hector, but he didn't come. Well, he's dealing with the mess now. After all, he's just one step away from bankruptcy. Just as I was about to go on stage to give a speech, my parents pushed my younger sister, who was in a wheelchair, and my mother looked around like a hostess and greeted everyone with a smile. "Claire, you've been working hard to manage the company these days. In the future, your father and I will take over. You're not young anymore. It's time for you to find a boyfriend, get married, and have children." They saw that I had managed the company well and made money, so they wanted to take it back. They really know how to pick the right time. All the bosses and employees are here. If I refuse, I'll definitely be accused of being unfilial and greedy for money. If I don't refuse, they'll take over the company as the situation allows. They really have a good plan. 18 My younger sister gave me a provocative smile. "Sister, although Mom and Dad gave you this company before, now they want to take it back. You won't be so greedy for power and reluctant to return it to mom and dad, will you? I nodded with a smile and said this is a very good question. I can't give an answer now. I hope everyone present can watch an authorized video for 3 minutes, and then help me make a choice. After saying that, I snapped my fingers. And a video of my parents cutting off relations with me was played on the huge electronic screen. Claire, the company is for you. And all the other things will be left to your younger sister. When we're old, we don't need you to support us. And you don't even think about getting anything else from us. I think you just think the things allocated to you are too few. Don't you realize that this originally belonged to your father and me? And it's our freedom to give it to whichever daughter we want. Sister, you didn't know, did you? Mom and Dad's company has a loss of tens of millions. Now that you've accepted it, all the debts will be transferred to you. We've spent a lot of money raising you all these years. I think we're even now. This is no longer your home. Hurry up and pack your things and leave. I'll only give you half an hour. If you exceed the time, don't blame me for asking the security guards to throw you out. After the video was played, the expressions of the people present were very complicated. My father reluctantly explained there are always some small frictions within a family. We were angry at that time. And things passed after we cooled down. Before he could finish speaking, someone said angrily, "Shame on you for being so old and saying such shameless words. She doesn't need to return the company. Why should she? Moreover, the company wasn't given to her for free. She has already paid off tens of millions of yuan in foreign debts. If it weren't for her, the company would have gone bankrupt long ago. This is the first time I've seen such partial parents. How could they drive their own daughter out of the house? The most ridiculous thing is that now they're jealous and want the company back because they see it's making money. If General Manager Claire hadn't prepared the video in advance, how could she have explained this false accusation? Get out of here." My mother started to act up and shouted, "This is our family business. It has nothing to do with you. I gave my daughter her life. Not to mention taking back the company. It's only natural for me to take back her life. I'll fire all of you once I take back the company." These words undoubtedly added fuel to the fire. An employee was so angry that he pushed my mother. As a result, other employees followed suit and started to make small moves. The employees in the monitoring room immediately turned the cameras away. Of course, no one used too much force. But my father and mother were in a very embarrassing situation. At this time, the sound of police sirens came from outside. My younger sister said triumphantly, "I called the police. I'm going to have all of you arrested." However, the police directly walked up to my younger sister, took out an arrest warrant, and said, "Ava, someone has reported you under their real name. The headquarters of the Victor family you operate is suspected of smuggling, false accounting, and tax evasion. Please come with us." My younger sister was stunned and said in disbelief, "Why are you arresting me? I'm the one who called the police." At this time, I shook my phone and said with a smile, "Sorry. I'm the one who called the police." When my younger sister was put on the rose gold handcuffs, she let out a hysterical scream. "I'm innocent. I really haven't broken the law. I don't understand anything you're saying." Suddenly thinking of something, she stared at me viciously and said, "I know. You framed me for all of this. Hector will soon rescue me with evidence. You're dead then." However, on the way, having fulfilled my incession, she met another group of policemen. And in the car sat Hector with handcuffs on. 19 until she was sentenced. My younger sister finally realized that all of this was a trap set for her by Hector. The company shares, the property transfer, all of them were part of the setup for her. It was all to make her take the blame for the Victor family. Because the crime was so serious, she was sentenced to 20-5 years at the maximum penalty. Now there's no chance of commuting the sentence. So when she gets out, she'll be an old woman in her 50s. As for Hector, he originally wanted to flee with the donated money. But he was caught by the police on the way. The crime he was charged with wasn't smuggling or tax evasion, but murder. There was a body buried in his cellar. It was his mother. She wanted to take him away because she couldn't bear the long-term domestic violence from his father. However, He informed his father instead. And in the end, she was buried alive here. Since then, he has had a psychological shadow when it comes to women. In addition, once his father was drunk and slept with him. He completely became psychologically twisted and perverted. In the end, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Life in prison is very leisurely. Because I receive letters from my younger sister every week, in which she curses me. The words she uses are very harsh. But I like receiving her letters and always ask my secretary to get them to me the moment they arrive. Seeing that she's not having a good time, I feel relieved. From time to time, I also send a few people in to give my younger sister an extra meal. As for Hector, I'm very generous to him and give him an extra meal every day. My younger sister glanced at her watch and started to drive me away. Parents, then I'll have someone painfully peel off his toenails and fingernails. As soon as they grow back, they'll be peeled off again. I also found a few strong men to stuff him up from behind. Let him live in humiliation and pain every day. In prison, even the thought of death is a luxury. 20 My parents have become obedient now because I've sent them to a nursing home to spend their old age. Of course, it's a very proper nursing home. I arranged a young and gentle male nurse for my mother and a woman nurse with an elegant figure for my father. But every night, the two of them sleep together. They scold each other for being shameless. And beatings and insults are common. The most serious incident was when my mother, in a fit of madness, directly bit off my father's private part. There was blood everywhere. My father was saved, but his private part was useless. He started to torture my mother like a pervert. My mother was often tortured beyond recognition. She pleaded with me to let her out, saying that this wasn't a place for people to stay. How could I possibly agree? Because this is one of the best nursing homes in the country. The elderly here have the highest happiness index. Their unhappiness only comes from their inner greed. Heaven and hell are no different to them. Everyone has to pay for their own actions. Parents are no exception. I have a twin sister who was adopted by a wealthy family. When I was forced by my family to drop out of school and get married, someone came looking for me. He took me back to meet my sister. He also said that he would cover all my future tuition fees and living expenses. I was extremely grateful to them. Until that day, I found out that they just needed a living heart donor. One I died on the operating table. But after the pain subsided, I opened my eyes again. What came into view was the receding mountain village. And the shadows of the trees by the roadside were quickly retreating. At the entrance of the village further behind, stood my parents who had sold their daughter for 500,000 yuan. The feeling of death was so profound that I woke up as if from a big dream and covered my chest. After calming down my emotions, my mind slowly started to work. All the signs indicated that I had been reborn back to the day when I was taken to the Leo family. I slowly turned my head and saw the man sitting on the other side. Leo, my twin sister's current brother. Just like in the last life. He didn't want to have anything to do with me, and sat at the farthest end from me. I also shrank under the car window as he wished to reduce my presence. Leo noticed that I was looking at him. He turned his head and his gaze fell on my hands. I had just been dragged out of the muddy ground by my parents. And there were still black lines of dirt under my fingernails. Leo frowned in disgust and snapped harshly. "Don't dirty my car." I lowered my eyelids and tried to shrink towards the car door. I seemed to have a numb expression. But my mind was working actively. Once I entered the Leo family, these people wouldn't give me a chance to escape. Calling the police wouldn't work either, because I had no evidence. Even if I had evidence, it would be impossible to bring down the current Leo family. But being reborn in this life, knowing what would happen in the future was my advantage. I had to make good use of this only advantage to avoid death. To this time when I came to the Leo family, I no longer had the novelty and admiration I had before. But I still widened my eyes and pretended to be naive. "Brother, is this sister's home?" Leo didn't even look at me, and said inferiorly, "I'm not your brother. When you come here, you have to figure out your own identity. You were able to lead that small mountain village because of Hannah. So she's not your sister, but your benefactor. She saved you. And everything you have belongs to her. Leo had said these words to me in the last life as well. But at that time, I thought what he said was very reasonable. My sister had indeed pulled me out of the abyss and saved me from being sold to a widower by my family. Both my sister and Leo were my benefactors. But after hearing these words again, I finally realized that these people had never gone to great lengths to deceive me. In their eyes, I might just be a dog. The moment I stepped into the Leo family's house, a collar and a chain were put around my neck, and the other end of the chain was held in Hannah's hand. She could decide whether I lived or died. I lowered my eyelids and pretended to be dejected. I understand. Leo sneered and led me into the living room. The person on the sofa jumped up when they saw us brother. Hannah didn't look very well. It was said that she had rushed back from the hospital specially to welcome me. When Leo heard this cheerful brother, his face soft and like the melting of a glacier, he opened his arms towards Hannah and firmly embraced the person who rushed over. Why are you running so fast? Can your body take it? Hannah tugged at his clothes and acted coquettously for a while before finally noticing me. Her eyes were curved with a smile. Sister, I finally get to meet you. Mom and Dad said I have a sister, and I begged them for a long time before they agreed to let me meet you. It's so great. Sister, have you missed me? I lowered my head somewhat nervously, cleaning the black dirt under my fingernails. And for a moment, I didn't know what to say. Although we were said to be twin sisters, in my opinion, we didn't look alike at all. One was well-nurtured, with fair and delicate skin, round and smooth nails, and a head of soft black hair cascading down her back. The other was sallow and emaciated, with rough calluses all over her palms. Her hair, which had been sold many times, was dry, yellow, and casually tied into a small tuft. This reminded me of a world of difference. Hannah wanted to come closer to me, but Leo held her back. He said in a reprobative tone, "Don't get close to her. She's dirty." Hannah gave him a sideways glance. Brother, don't say that. Leo didn't respond and pulled her inside. I was left standing there feeling at a loss. The parents of the Leo family were sitting on the sofa in the distance. Leo's mother looked me up and down. After a moment, she said to the butler, "Take her to her room to wash up. We'll deal with other matters later." The butler led me to a room inside on the first floor. The furniture and decorations in the room were much better than those in the house in the small mountain village. In my previous life, I thought this was a room specially prepared for me, and I was even more grateful to them. Later, I found out that it was a maid's room. The live minus and maid had taken a few days off to go home. After I occupied this room, the Leo family would arrange a better room for her. Although I knew the truth, I was quite satisfied with this arrangement. Because here, I could have better access to the things I wanted to contact. I placed my only 2 pieces of clothing on the white bedspread. The butler stared at me infuriately from behind. The bathroom is over there. Wash yourself clean and come out. The young lady wants to chat with you. I gave a nervous smile. Okay. Thank you. The butler didn't need my thanks. Before closing the door, he warned me the young lady is not in good health and can't get excited. Don't say things that you shouldn't say. I nodded. I understand. It was already half an hour later when I came out of the bathroom after taking a shower. My stomach crumbled twice, reminding me that it was time for a meal. I opened the door of the room, and after making sure that no one could see me, I walked out. Turn left from here into a corridor. After passing the artificial rockery and pond in the backyard, there was a row of rooms. The red lacquered wooden door at the end was my destination. I stood not far away looking at that place and didn't move for a long time. In the last life, I was imprisoned in that room for several months. And next door was the professional medical team hired by the Leo family. Below this row of rooms was a fully equipped underground operating room. If a heart that could successfully match Hannah's couldn't be found through legal channels, then these arrangements would be the last resort for treatment. And I, or rather my heart, was a crucial part of it. I pressed my chest and felt the heart beating in my chest. Suddenly, a male voice sounded behind me, accompanied by steady footsteps. "What are you doing here?" I put down my arm, turned around with a flustered expression. It was a handsome man wearing a white coat, with a pair of silver-rimmed glasses on his nose. And his gaze under the lenses was full of inquiry. You. Hello. I bent over nervously and bowed. Pointing at the waterfall on the artificial rockery, I heard the sound of water and thought the faucet wasn't turned off. This was indeed a joke that a country girl would make. The man raised his eyebrows. And his gaze fell on the top of my head. I heard him laugh. Don't run around in the future. Something might happen. His voice was very gentle and also very familiar. I pinched my ears, blushed, glanced at him, and ran in the direction I had come from. When I passed that corner, I slowed down, pressed the corners of my lips, and in my heart, I silently pronounced that person's name. Wien. For there are no good people in this villa. It's like this for me. In the last life, I was imprisoned after I found out what they were going to do. I stayed in that small room for 2 months. Eating, heading so filled by sigh, drinking, hunching, and doing everything else there. Later, I finally found an opportunity to escape, but I was quickly discovered. I was pinned down on the green grass by the villa's bodyguards. And the grass left green marks on my cheeks. I looked at the exit ahead unwillingly. My line of sight was blocked by a pair of leather shoes. Ryan stood in front of me against the light. Above the shoes were neatly ironed suit pants. A waistcoat of the same color. A white shirt. And that face whose expression I couldn't see clearly. That was the first time I saw him. The him who hadn't put on the white coat yet. I thought Ryan was a guest at the Leo family and my last hope of being saved. So I grabbed the hem of his trousers. Sir. Please save me. I begged him. Ryan also raised his eyebrows just like today. And he laughed. Then he asked the bodyguard pinning me down. Why did you let her escape? If the operation can't go smoothly, what will you use to compensate? After saying that, he lifted his leg and walked around me. And I also knew that I had no way to escape anymore. After that day, Ryan appeared in front of me more often. He personally carried out repeated examinations, blood draws, and laboratory tests. I lay on the hospital bed and listened to those people chatting. I heard them say that Ryan was the youngest expert in the field of surgical treatment for heart failure in the country. Hannah's attending doctor. And Leo's brother who had grown up together since childhood. Most importantly, he studied medicine for Hannah. So of course, Ryan couldn't save me. 5 after I came out from the backyard. The people of the Leo family had already finished their meal. Hannah was leaning against her mother watching TV, with a faint smile on her lips. When she saw me coming, her smile faded a bit but quickly recovered. Sister. You're finally out. I walked over and covered my stomach somewhat embarrassed. Sister. I'm a bit hungry. Hannah widened her eyes. Didn't Uncle Butler bring you food? Leo's mother patted her head and looked at me. You need to go to the hospital for an examination. So you need to fast. I said in a panic. It's not necessary. It's too much trouble. The examination is necessary. Otherwise, what if you have an infectious disease and infect us? I lowered my head and said sullenly, okay. Just like in the last life. A lot of blood was drawn at the hospital. Various tests were done. And without my knowledge, a matching test was carried out between me and Hannah. When the report came out, the butler who was waiting in front of me was very excited. His hands were shaking. And after he clearly saw the content of the report, tears welled up in his eyes. I addressed him the same way Hannah did Uncle Butler. What's wrong? The butler didn't answer. He rolled up the report and motioned for me to follow him out of the hospital. After a long time, he said the young lady has always been in poor health. And I really hope she can get better. I said I hope so too. Yeah. Right. I thought again, did he think that saying this could reduce his sense of guilt? 6 Just like in the last life. When Leo brought me back, he promised to send me to school. After making sure that I couldn't escape from their control, he didn't break his promise. After all, this was the best way to prevent me from having wild thoughts at home and causing trouble. But it would take some time to go through the enrollment procedures. This morning, I sent Hannah to the door. And a Rolls-Royce was waiting there. Leo rolled down the car window and looked at me for a while. Then said, don't go to find Hannah at night in the future. She's in poor health and needs to rest. Yesterday, having fulfilled my session, I found an excuse of catching up on old times and chatted with Hannah for a long time. The butler warned me several times, but I hugged Hannah and said I wanted to sleep with her. After some coaxing and persistence, Hannah agreed, then let out a low sigh. In the middle of the night, I kicked her off the bed. Hannah was angry and anxious, and almost had a heart attack. Her face was still pale now. I glanced at her apologetically and apologized. I'm sorry. I really didn't know I was so restless when I sleep. I definitely won't do it again in the future. The car window went up, completely separating the inside and outside into two different spaces. I watched the car drive away, and a smile appeared on my lips. In order to ensure that I have enough time to find a way to escape, Hannah's health must not get better. This was just the beginning. I exhaled and turned to enter the door. But I saw Ian, who I didn't know how long he had been standing behind me. He had taken off that white coat and was wearing a simple white shirt and black trousers. I was taken aback, and a figure involuntarily popped up in my mind. Mr. Ryan. Hannah has told me about you. Ryan's eyes were very black, giving off an inorganic cold light. After a long time, he laughed. What did she say about me? She said you're very kind to her. Just like her brother. Brother? Ryan chewed on these two words and didn't respond for a long time. I took the opportunity to walk around him and returned to my maid's room. 7. The Leo family put me in Hannah's class. When going to school, the butler specifically came to warn me the young lady is your biological sister. So you must take good care of her at school. This is your only value. I let these words go in one ear and out the other. But I still obediently agreed and planned to open the car door and get in. The car didn't give me a chance to grab the door handle. The driver drove away. I was left standing there. The butler watched Hannah and Leo drive away behind me. And then he didn't look at me again but went directly back to the villa. The car was out of sight, and the door behind me was also closed to me. On the first day of school, I ran to school just like in the last life. Fortunately, having fulfilled Lee, it wasn't too far away, and it only took half an hour to run there. I finally found the classroom, but the class bell had already rung. I knocked on the door and reported myself. The teacher stopped teaching. She glanced at me and reluctantly said, "Welcome our new classmate." It was a pity that no one welcomed me. I was arranged in the last row of the classroom, several rows away from Hannah. I dried the sweat with the tissue I had prepared earlier. I looked at Hannah straight back and smiled. Something very interesting would happen today. I was really looking forward to it. Hannah, is that your twin sister? She doesn't look like you at all. As soon as the class bell rang, Hannah started whispering with her little sister. My sister grew up in the countryside. So Hannah hesitated. Her little sister picked up what she wanted to say, so she looked so rustic. Hannah tugged at her sleeve. Don't say that. My sister is very kind to me. She chatted with me for a long time last night. Although I didn't sleep well, I was really happy. I yawned. Actually, I didn't sleep well either. But the little sister obviously didn't care about me. She stood up noisily. Hannah, don't you know what your own body is like? Did she deliberately keep you up late? Hannah pulled the person back and walked up to my seat herself. She handed me a pack of tissues and said softly, "Sister, I wanted my brother to send you to school, but he didn't agree. I'm sorry. It's all my fault." I took the pack of tissues and pinched the thin plastic film. I sized up my twin sister again. She always kept herself spotless, as if she were the only pure jasmine flower in this world. She maintained the act of deep sisterly affection. And she also wanted my heart. Afterwards, she would look grief-stricken and question everyone. Why did you treat my sister like this? I smiled and said, I know my brother doesn't like me yet, but one day, I'll make him like me. Hannah suddenly looked up at me. She opened her mouth but didn't say anything. I pretended to be stupid. What's wrong? Sister? Hannah shook her head. Nothing. Nothing. She went back to her seat. Her thoughts rather complicated. She even bumped into the corner of a desk on the way. 8. In the last life, I studied in this classroom for 2 months. And I was bullied for 2 months as well. During this period, Hannah always pretended to be pitiful and innocent. In this life, she is playing the same role. During the noon nap, I was kicked off my seat. I sat on the ground with an innocent look on my face and watched as the instigator took out the school bag I had placed in the desk compartment. What's there to be afraid of? Just search her if we suspect she took it. Right? The boy turned the school bag upside down. And all the things inside fell onto the desk. A pen bounced out and hit me in the face. I squinted my eyes. The boy rummaged through my things but couldn't find what he was looking for a while. The classmates around all looked at him. He was a bit annoyed and glared at me. Where's the monitor's bracelet? Where did you hide it? I shook my head. I don't know what you're talking about. The bracelet. He pointed at Hannah. The monitor said her bracelet is missing. It was a birthday present from her brother. Did you take it? I looked at Hannah. Her eyes were red. She was being supported by her little sister. And she covered her chest like a delicate willow in the wind. Sister, if you want it, you can tell me. I'll ask my brother to buy one for you. But this one won't do. It was given to me by my brother. I stood up and organized my books as if there was no one else around. I don't know about any bracelet. Sister, I didn't take it. Hannah pursed her lips. As if she was doing it for my own good. Okay. I know you didn't take it. It doesn't matter. Blake. Don't bully my sister like this. Blake was still holding my school bag in his hand and, just like every time in the last life, he was acting as Hannah's admirer. He sneered upon hearing this. Hannah, you're just as soft-hearted. What's the difference between someone like her who steals things, and a rat getting into a granary when she's in our class? The things we each use are worth more than her entire person combined. Okay? Slap. I slapped him across the face. It was so quiet in the classroom that you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was stunned for a moment. With red eyes, I said stubbornly and grievance sly, I may not have money, but I won't do such a thing. How dare you hit me? Blake, a wealthy young master, had never been slapped in the face since he was a child. He cursed and pounced on me. I grabbed his hair. From doing farm work all year round, Blake might not be as strong as me. For a moment, some people were trying to persuade us. And some were trying to pull us apart. The desks were knocked over all over the place. I aimed at the position and moved towards Hannah's seat. Blake threw punches very quickly. I endured the pain and lifted my leg, kicking him onto Hannah's desk. The person knocked over the desk. All the things in the drawer fell out. Blake still wanted to continue. But I gasped, Sister, is this the bracelet you were talking about? Everyone looked in the direction I was pointing. Sure enough, there was a blue bracelet on the ground. Some people recognized that this was the bracelet Hannah often wore. And their expressions immediately changed. Is this the monitor's own desk? So the bracelet wasn't lost at all? No one said anything anymore. Liking to stick one's neck out and being used as a pawn are completely different things. Hannah covered her chest, looking a bit at a loss. I don't know how it got here. I searched for it for a long time but couldn't find it. Blake, the poor fool, thought for a moment and looked at Hannah in disbelief. Did you do it on purpose? Hannah. Her face turned pale. She wanted to explain, but all she could say was I didn't. Maybe it was put too far inside. So you couldn't find it. Blake, you let out a low sigh. What do you mean? Do you think Hannah is that kind of person? Hannah's little sister pulled her behind her and shielded her. Who knows if she was afraid of being found out and put it back. I wiped my tears and shook my head. I didn't do it. But my sister definitely wouldn't frame me. She must have forgotten where she put it. Hannah had no choice but to follow the excuse I gave her. That must be it. I'm sorry, sister. I forgot. I walked over and patted her on the shoulder. It's okay. As long as it's found. 9 After suffering such a big loss, Hannah obviously have restrained a lot. But there were people who didn't want to let me go. So early the next morning, there were 2 frogs in my drawer. They felt sticky. Perhaps for an ordinary girl, this was a very disgusting thing. But they didn't know that when I was in the countryside, I often caught frogs to sell for money. They were more than 50 yuan per gin. I pinched one of the frog's legs. noticing the faint gaze on me. Without any warning, I suddenly changed my expression and then let out a scream. Ah! What is it? As I screamed, I pulled the frog out and threw it away. The dead frog landed on Hannah's head. The next second, a louder scream rang out. And the other frog. I threw it towards Blake. After a chaotic scene, Hannah had a heart attack and was sent to the hospital. I climbed onto the ambulance crying and sobbed, "I'm sorry, sister. I really didn't mean it." Although Hannah was unconscious, she still frowned in pain. Soon, Renata lo sorry. The Leo family members also arrived at the hospital. Leo's mother, wearing high heels, stumbled over and slapped me. "I told you to take care of your sister at school. And this is how you take care of her? She's your sister. Your own sister." I covered my face and cried, apologizing incoherently. "I'm sorry. I really didn't know this would happen. It's all their fault for putting the frogs in my desk. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have accidentally thrown it on my sister's head." "Who put the frogs in your desk?" Leo grabbed my shoulders with such force that I felt as if my bones were being crushed. I bit my lip and shook my head. "I don't know. I can't say." Leo let go of me and turned around to make a phone call. "Get me the surveillance footage. I want him to pay the price." I watched his back, slowly slid down the wall, and squatted in the corner, buried my face in my arms. And my shoulders trembled slightly. Maybe others thought I was crying? Of course not. I thought it was quite funny. After a long time, Hannah was out of danger. I stood up, feeling as if a heavy burden had been lifted. My eyes were swollen as big as walnuts. Leo glanced at me, and there was an obvious look of surprise on his face. He frowned and turned his head away, averting his gaze. "Ryan." He stood up and looked at Ryan, who came out of the emergency room. Ryan glanced at me and motioned for Leo to follow him. "It's best to have the surgery as soon as possible. But Hannah's body is not in the best condition. Take good care of her body during this period. Arrange the surgery immediately once all the indicators meet the standards." After watching them leave, I went to the restroom and washed my face. With my hands resting on the marble washed sand, I looked at the person in the mirror and smiled. It was a smile that I had practiced for a long time. The softest and most vulnerable minus looking. And the most bravado minus-like smile. The door behind me opened. I smoothed the corners of my mouth and resumed my submissive appearance. Ryan played with the scalpel blade in his hand and smiled at me. "You're good at pretending." I asked in confusion. "What do you mean? Still pretending to be stupid?" He walked in and closed the door. I pursed my lips and said a grieved lie. "Mr. Ryan, I know you have a misunderstanding about me. But my sister..." Before I could finish speaking, Ryan grabbed my hair. My head was forcefully pulled back, and I looked up at him. My neck pressed against the cold blade. He was a doctor and knew how to deliver a fatal blow. The blade slid along my carotid artery. And Ryan tilted his head. "Did you do it on purpose?" I bit my lip and remained silent. "On the first night, you deliberately kept Hannah up late. At school, you deliberately put the bracelet from your school bag back into her drawer. And finally, you deliberately threw the dead frog on her head. Now, she had a heart attack and was on the verge of death. It was all part of your calculation. Tell me, what's your purpose?" Ryan even suspected that I knew something I shouldn't. Although the possibility was small, everything I did had already aroused his suspicion. He wouldn't allow any accident that could cause Hannah to lose her heart donor source. So, I suspected that he was considering whether to lock me in that room just like in the last life. As for how to dispel his doubts, at this moment, I could only admit my malicious intentions. After figuring out how to deal with the situation, I lowered my head like I was hit in a sore spot to hide my embarrassment. The blade cut through my skin, and Ryan's deep voice rang in my ear. "Luna, you have 1 minute to explain." I winced in pain and shrank my shoulders, but suddenly pushed Ryan away. I shouted in collapse, as if my shame had been torn apart. "Yes, I did it on purpose. Clearly, hadn't förstått. We are twins. So why was Hannah raised with the love of our family? While I was going to be sold to someone as a childbearing tool. I'm just jealous of her and wish she would die sooner. Are you satisfied? I'm just that kind of person. Ryan stood about a meter away from me. Calmly adjusted his glasses. His gaze was scrutinizing. Assessing the truthfulness of my words. I continued to act crazy. Soon, let out a low sigh. Ryan kicked me in the stomach. I crouched down, holding my stomach. He looked down at me, as if he thought I was dirty, and was wiping his fingertips with a handkerchief. Kneel in front of Hannah's hospital bed all night and ask for her forgiveness. Otherwise, I'll make you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Ryan was such a psychopath. He liked to break people's spirit. I could only do as he wished. 10 I knelt in front of my own sister until she woke up. When I tried to get up, I failed and fell to the ground. Among the doctors and nurses who came in to examine Hannah, one of them didn't notice and stepped on the back of my hand. I curled my fingers in pain, and my mind became much clearer. When I went out and looked at the darkening sky, I suddenly remembered that today was a very important day. The school's anniversary celebration. In the last life, Hannah didn't end up in the hospital. She gave a speech as an outstanding representative and stole the show, while I was locked in the restroom. Fortunately, having fulfilled me, it was a restroom on the second floor, and I could jump out of the window. After jumping out, I sprained my ankle. But I happened to land in front of an honorary alumnus who came to the school anniversary celebration. He had someone send me to the school infirmary and gave me a sum of money. This experience was very special to me. It was the only bit of kindness amidst the general malice. After that, I began to learn about this person. Although the channels were few, I still found his company and learned about his identity. Before I knew that I was a heart donor source kept in captivity. I even dreamed of studying hard and going to work in his company after graduation. To spend the rest of my life peacefully and steadily. Unfortunately, having fulfilled my desire, I didn't get that chance. What's even more unfortunate is that in this new life, I need to fabricate a huge lie to use him to get out of the quagmire. 11 This was a path behind the teaching building. Usually, there were very few people here. And it was a dating spot for young couples. Of course, it wasn't a secret. But the school leaders turned a blind eye to these wealthy second-generation students. During the school anniversary celebration, there were even fewer people on this path. In the last life, I jumped out of the window and landed in the bushes by the roadside. If that senior hadn't passed by, I didn't know when I would be discovered. Now, I was sitting on a bench, feeling hot all over. When the wind blew, my mind became drowsy. Yet I strained my eyes to look towards the end of the road. Until a man wearing a custom-made formal suit appeared in my sight. Neither he nor his assistant noticed me. I held my breath and waited for them to approach. When he was only 2 or 3 meters away from me, I stood up and opened my mouth, wanting to say something. But the next second, everything went black before my eyes, and I lost consciousness. General Manager Ryan. Is she trying to blackmail us? Before I fainted, I heard his assistant say this. 12 I really wasn't trying to blackmail anyone. Facing the Leo family and Ryan, my only advantage was knowing the short-term future. And in a week's time, this General Manager Ryan would go on a business trip to another place. He would happen to encounter an earthquake in that place and go missing for a full half-month. During those half a month, his company appointed Ryan to temporarily act as the CEO, which brought him a lot of trouble later. I just wanted to give him a reminder to prevent him from repeating the same mistake. 13 When I woke up, I was in the school infirmary. Caleb and his assistant were both gone. I looked at the clock hanging on the wall and pursed my lips tightly. Hannah's surgery was imminent. As soon as her body could withstand it, Ryan would arrange the surgery for her. To avoid any accidents. Even if I wasn't imprisoned later, I wouldn't have much freedom. Not to mention that Caleb and I were from different worlds. Except for the school anniversary celebration. It would be very difficult for me to have another chance to meet him. So I couldn't miss this opportunity. I pulled out the IV drip, pressed the blood bead that oozed down on the back of my hand, and ran out while the school doctor wasn't there. When I found Caleb's car in the huge parking lot, I finally let out a sigh of relief. I squatted down leaning against the car body and looked towards the entrance of the parking lot, just like at noon. Brother. I heard that a little girl tried to blackmail you at school? A voice sounded not far away. And it sounded a bit familiar to me. Accompanied by the sound of footsteps. The person continued. These little girls nowadays really don't learn well. How old is she? Already thinking about finding a rich sugar daddy? Judging from the sound of the footsteps. There were definitely more than one person walking this way. But still. No one responded to his words. Logically speaking. The girls in our circle wouldn't do such a thing. She should be one of the special enrollment students. Right? Obviously, having fulfilled Y&Psi. The school has given them the opportunity to study and make a future. But they still use such despicable means. Another person interrupted him. His voice cold. Don't think that everyone is as despicable as your mother. Now I knew who was speaking. Ryan and Caleb. They were brothers with the same father, but different mothers. When Caleb's mother was pregnant, she found out that her husband was having an affair. She had a premature birth and died due to massive bleeding. Less than 3 months later, the mistress came to the door and said she was pregnant. So, although they were brothers, they were more like enemies in reality. Ryan laughed, and there was an unrelenting gloom on his face. But this is the truth. People will do anything to climb up the social ladder. He stopped. Caleb walked around to the other side to open the car door. I happened to be squatting there and bumped into him. Caleb paused and looked down at me. What's going on? Ryan's voice sounded again. It made Caleb frown in disgust. I pushed my hair in front of my face to cover it and hunched over, moving towards the back of the car. When Ryan walked over, I was already at the back of the car. I only heard him laugh and say, "Little cat, your shoes are showing." I was taken aback and shrank my feet. He intended to come over, but Caleb grabbed the back of his collar. A short and forceful word scram. Ryan had to step aside. Caleb opened the car door, paused for a moment, and said to me, "Get in the car." I didn't know what he meant, but I got in the car. Caleb closed the car door and walked around to the other side to get in. He blocked all of Ryan's sight. 14, you're the twin sister of that girl from the Hannah family. I didn't look like Hannah, so it was really difficult for Caleb to recognize me. But thinking about it, it made sense. People in the same circle would get wind of it no matter how secretly the Leo family tried to keep things. There was a short tapping sound on the armrest in the car. Before he could ask anything else, I said, "Caleb, do you believe in reincarnation?" Caleb was taken aback. "Perhaps. Would you like to hear a story?" Seeing that he didn't voice any objection, I continued. "I have a friend." After telling this short story from a bystander's perspective, I smiled. At that time, she thought they really just wanted to bring her back to be reunited with her sister. So even though she wasn't living a good life, she was still very grateful to them. Of course, things didn't always go smoothly. I paused, looked out the window, and avoided Caleb's scrutiny. She was locked in the restroom by her bullying classmates. To escape, she jumped out of the second floor. With that jump, she landed in front of a senior. The senior took pity on her and gave her a sum of money. But he didn't expect to be pestered because of it. As the saying goes, it's easier for a woman to pursue a man. My friend quickly got together with the senior. Just the day before they were about to confirm their relationship, the senior went on a business trip. On that night, an 8- magnitude earthquake occurred in the city the senior went to. And she lost all news of him. Others said the senior was dead. But she didn't believe it. She rushed there overnight. But an aftershock broke one of her legs. As I said before, she was the heart donor source for her twin sister. So she didn't find the senior later. And she didn't stand up again either. She was taken back by her sister's family and finally died on the operating table after her heart was removed. Poor her. In the end, she didn't even know if the senior was still alive. I sighed. And the car fell silent. No one spoke for a moment. I kept looking out the window, tilting my head slightly, looking as if I was about to cry. Caleb moved, and there was a slight sound of fabric rubbing. After a moment, He retracted his gaze, seemingly not affected by my story at all. He said, "Have you finished? You should go back to school for class." I secretly picked up my palm and shook my head. Not yet. Is there a follow-up? The heroine is already dead. Caleb's gaze was sharp. Under his gaze, I felt as if I had nowhere to hide, but I could only force myself to meet his eyes. Yes. I continued the story. She was reborn. After saying that, I heard Caleb impatiently tapping the wooden armrest. I pretended not to hear it and focused on my breathing. She was reborn back to the day when she was taken back to her sister's home. She wants to live. So she can't just watch the senior get into trouble. After I finished speaking, I looked at Caleb very sincerely. "Stop the car." Caleb had no expression on his face. After stopping the driver, he turned his head to look at me. "It's not far from the school. Go back." I smiled at him and pretended to be strong. "I know this story is outrageous, and I didn't expect you to believe me right away. But one day, you'll know that everything I said is true." Caleb had already asked the driver to open the car door for me. I looked at him, feeling a bit embarrassed before that. "Could you lend me a mobile phone? I will return it to you later." 15 With the Leo family's money, Hannah's health gradually improved. As for me, it should be because of what Ryan said to the Leo family members. And I was deprived of the right to go to school. The reason was that my sister was bored at home and needed someone to accompany her. Of course, they wouldn't trust me to be alone with Hannah, so there was a butler beside me to keep an eye on me at all times. The butler stood by the bed, his brows furrowed in a strict frown. I propped my chin with my hand and smiled as I talked to Hannah. When we talked about the life in the countryside, I smiled even more naively. "When you get better, I'll take you to the countryside to catch frogs. The live ones." Hannah: "No, no need." She had a forced expression. The butler glanced at me and said seriously, "The young lady is going to sleep." Looking at the time, it was indeed getting late. I stood up. "I'll go and make some milk for my sister." Since I occupied the maid's room, it seemed that I also took over her job. Of course, such a small thing was something I should do. I carried the milk upstairs and met Leo, who was smoking on the balcony. Brother Leo, you're back. Here. My sister asked me to make this milk for you. I was going to send it to your room. She said you've been working hard with all the social engagements recently, and should take good care of your health." I often sent milk to him in Hannah's name. He was used to it by now. But when he heard my address, Leo's expression was as if he had eaten a fly. He said in disgust, "Luna, if you call me brother again, I'll break your legs." I shrank my neck in fear. "I'm sorry. My sister said I could call you the same way she does." Leo extinguished the cigarette butt and glanced at the glass in my hand. "Give me the glass. I'll take it to her." I was taken aback and obediently handed it to him. Leo walked past me and went upstairs. I stood there watching him leave and bit the soft flesh on the inside of my cheek. "What are you doing here?" The butler, who came out of the room and deliberately closed the door to create a private space for the brother and sister, saw me and immediately pulled a long face. I blinked. "I'll go back to my room right away." In fact, I wanted to stay and watch the commotion. But this commotion wasn't that interesting. That night, the whole villa was brightly lit. But everyone didn't dare to speak loudly and walked on tiptoe, afraid of bringing bad luck. The butler took the time to open the door of the maid's room, only to find that the person inside was gone. 10 minutes ago, I sneaked to the window of Hannah's room. There was an unobvious white thread hanging in the air there. I pulled the white thread. The mobile phone placed at the window on the second floor fell down. Ignoring the possible pain of being hit, I paused the video shooting and left immediately. I sprained my ankle in a hurry while climbing over the wall. It was at this moment that a flashing ambulance passed in front of me. I held my breath and tried to reduce my presence as much as possible. I limped away only after the ambulance had passed. It was difficult to get in and out of the high-minus and residential area. I first found a place to check the video on the mobile phone. I was a bit nervous and didn't check the volume. The low gasps of a man and the moans of a woman suddenly exploded in my ears. I almost dropped the mobile phone on the ground. After hurriedly reducing the volume, I tremblingly processed the video. I blurred the parts that should be blurred and put mosaic on the parts that needed it. I also specially introduced the identities of the two people in large characters. And then set the upload time on 7 or 8 platforms. It was set for 5 days later. By then, the earthquake would have ended 3 days ago. If Caleb had listened to my words, he would definitely be back. And he would definitely believe me. 17 The security facilities in the residential area were complete, and there were surveillance cameras everywhere. It didn't take them long to find me. I was taken back. The parents of the Leo family and Ryan were all in the hospital, and only Leo stayed at home. There was a wound on his arm, which looked like it was made by a knife. I covered my neck and roughly knew how this wound came about. "Brother Leo," I called him. The next second, I was kicked. The force was so great that I fell to the ground, and I ached all over. No one said anything. Leo raised his foot and stepped on the back of my hand. He was holding a glass in his other hand. A glass that had been used to hold milk and hadn't been washed yet. My hand hurt a lot. I scratched the ground with my fingers, my face turning pale. "Luna, do you know what you've done?" I tried to force a smile. "I know. But brother Leo, I suggest you don't do anything to me first. I have something to show you." Leo looked down at me coldly. I took out my mobile phone from my pocket, unlocked it, and turned the volume to the maximum. The voices of a man and a woman echoed in the living room. Leo's mouth twitched, and he bent over to snatch my mobile phone. But I was quick and smashed the mobile phone on the coffee table, smashing it several times in a row. Leo gritted his teeth and uttered 2 words: "Luna. Luna, if you hit me again, this video will appear on 8 social platforms 5 days later. By then, everyone will know what you 2 siblings have done. They don't know that Hannah was adopted by you." Leo exerted force with his toes and pressed hard on the back of my hand. I gasped in pain. "You can choose not to believe me. And you can also take a gamble. As long as you can afford to lose. Or are you saying that you don't mind this video being posted online?" Crash! The glass was smashed on the ground by Leo. The place where it landed wasn't far from me. And some fragments splashed on my face, leaving several bloodstains. I was just heaving a sigh of relief. But Leo suddenly grabbed my hair and lifted me up. He dragged me and pressed me onto the glass fragments. "I didn't know you were so capable. Do you think I have no way to deal with you?" My lips were trembling, but I still forced myself to deal with him. "Do you know who gave me this mobile phone?" Leo wasn't interested. "It was Caleb." His hand holding me paused. "I also sent him a copy, of course. Ryan wants to fight Caleb for the family property. Isn't that why he's marrying into the Leo family? So Caleb won't give up this opportunity to bring down the Leo family. You know, his mother was killed by Ryan's mother." Leo didn't expect me to know so much. He squatted down and looked into my eyes. "What else do you know?" What else did I know? That was all I knew. I had played all my trump cards. Just when the air almost seemed to freeze, a laugh came from the entrance hall. Ryan adjusted his glasses, and his cold gaze fell on me. Leo stood up. "How is Hannah?" Ryan glanced at him, with emotion surging in his eyes. But he didn't say anything in the end. "Out of danger." As he spoke, he walked in, with steady steps. He stood in front of me unhurriedly. At this moment, I suddenly thought of the first time I met Ryan. He had stood in front of me like this, looking down at me as if I were an ant. So it was really you, the little cat, that day. He walked around me and sat on the sofa. "You've given me a lot of surprises." This move not only sowed discord between me and Leo, but also grasped the handle of the Leo family. And also made Hannah's body never reach the condition for a heart transplant. "Buying yourself some time. Very good." He clapped his hands, leaning forward slightly, and the lenses of his glasses reflected a cold light. Leo frowned. "Does she know that we want to transplant her heart to Hannah?" "Of course she knows. Otherwise, she wouldn't have targeted Hannah one after another. And she told me she was jealous of her. So clever." The two of them analyzed my purpose thoroughly, one sentence after another. I looked at the floor expressionlessly, and a sense of anxiety welled up in my heart. Lock her up. Do the surgery as soon as Hannah's health improves. Ryan made the final decision. What about the video? Although it was because of the milk with additives, Leo still found it a bit difficult to face his sister's fiancé. Ryan lowered his eyelids. There are still 5 days. Aren't there? Find a way. Moreover, curing Hannah is the most important thing. As long as Caleb doesn't come to ask for her, the problem isn't big. As for the rest. He paused and didn't continue. Leo sneered. How could Caleb come looking for her? 18 The days of being in prison were not easy. And this time, I offended Leo and Ryan too severely. So they would starve me and leave me without water from time to time. This day was the first day of the earthquake. Ryan came to me. He seemed to be in a rather good mood and was even humming an unknown tune. He said, Caleb is dead. Oh. You think I'm lying to you? An 8- magnitude earthquake occurred in the place where he was on a business trip. He has been out of contact for 5 hours. I pretended to be incredulous on the surface. How is that possible? This reaction satisfied Ryan. He inserted the syringe into my blood vessel. Why not? Luna. No one can help you anymore. He can't be dead. He's just out of contact. To show my anxiety, I deliberately struggled for a long time. It was only after he left that I opened my eyes and looked at the ceiling. Calming down. In the last life, from the moment Caleb extended a helping hand to me, I thought he was a good person. In this life, he didn't let me down. Caleb came to the Leo family earlier than I expected. He rushed over in a hurry, bringing not only the police but also arranging for the media. As soon as I was taken out of the dark room, I was startled by the flashing lights. I should leave too. Caleb was by my side and accompanied the police to take me to the police car. He left his assistant to deal with the remaining matters. I stared blankly out the window, feeling as if I had been through a lifetime. Caleb turned his head and looked at me for a long time. He softly said, "Thank you." I shook my head and said to the police in the front, "Can we go to the hospital first? I have a lot of injuries on my body." Sometimes, some words don't need to be elaborated. People will make up their own minds. What's more, what I said was true. The injuries from that night hadn't been treated at all. There were even some glass fragments embedded in some of the wounds. A nurse who treated my wounds was a bit shaky. I comforted her. "It's okay." The nurse's eyes turned red, and she even cursed the Leo family members and Ryan. A bunch of beasts. Leo and Ryan thought Caleb was dead. This move caught them off guard. First, they found out that I had been imprisoned. Then, the police had a reason to search the entire villa and discovered the surgical equipment hidden in the basement, as well as the report that I was a successful match for Hannah. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what they were planning to do. The Leo family members and Ryan were taken away on the same day. The media waiting at the door were like flies attracted to rotting meat, rushing forward one after another. On that day, this news occupied the headlines of major media. That's why the nurse could quickly understand the whole story. When she went out, her eyes were red, and she told the police about my injuries. I was sitting on the hospital bed, looking at the TV that the nurse had turned on for me. And news about the Leo family was being broadcast on it, using the biological sister of the adopted daughter as a heart donor source. The underground surgical equipment is complete. Why do they so despise human life? Is it the corruption of human nature or the degradation of morality? These words scrolled at the bottom. I watched with great interest and sincerely hoped that the law could give me justice. The door of the ward creaked open. Caleb stood beside two policemen and nodded at me. "Are you okay? You need to make a statement." I didn't expect Caleb to still be there. After a moment of stunned silence, I nodded. The police asked very detailed questions, and I answered them in detail as well. After they left, it got dark. Caleb walked in carrying a box of seafood porridge. Remembering the huge lie I had told, I looked away uncomfortably. "Why are you still here?" Caleb paused in the action of opening the lunchbox and turned his head to look at me. Before I could react, he withdrew his gaze and said indifferently, "In your story, your friend and the senior were on the verge of becoming a couple." I pursed my lips. That was a lie. Caleb placed the porridge in front of me. A lie? Yes. That friend told a lie on purpose because she was afraid that the senior wouldn't help her. Caleb. So that's how it is. I couldn't tell whether he was happy or angry from these words. So I just pretended not to hear. I picked up the spoon and started to eat the porridge, not even daring to look at the TV. Caleb liked to knock on something when he was thinking. Now, with his hand resting on the bed, he unconsciously tapped his fingers. I'll hire the best lawyer for you. The public opinion has a great influence now. And the sentence won't be light. So, don't worry. Just focus on recuperating your body first. I mumbled. Okay. Thank you. By the way, could you lend me your phone? Remembering the time, I scratched my face. If the video was posted, things would become more complicated. So it was better to let Caleb handle it. Caleb handed me his phone. I flipped through it and felt a bit embarrassed. I need to download a few apps. Okay. And I downloaded 8 apps, logged into each of them one by one, and deleted the video, leaving only one copy saved locally on the phone. I showed this to Caleb. See if this is useful. This was the only copy that was saved in the cloud and hadn't been censored. I was so nervous for a long time, afraid that it would be removed by the review. Caleb glanced at it and pressed the play button without changing his expression. Unfortunately, having fulfilled my incession, he didn't turn down the volume of his phone either. Just then, the nurse came in to change my IV drip. She frowned. What are you doing? The patient's body isn't fully recovered yet. Caleb, why? I should leave too. 19. It took 2 months from the opening of the court session to the end. Just as Caleb said, the influence of public opinion was too great. If this case wasn't handled properly, would it mean that in the future, when the wealthy needed organ transplants, they could just find a poor person and buy an organ? Even if they didn't buy it, could they just imprison someone and secretly perform the surgery at home? The consequence of a lenient sentence caused a huge uproar on the internet. As a result, even after Hannah filed for a second trial, the original judgment was still upheld. She broke down and cried in court, and her heart disease flared up again, sending her to the hospital. Before the critical period had passed, the news of the Leo family's bankruptcy came one after another. Hannah seemed to sense something. Her electrocardiogram was a straight line for several minutes before she was rescued. After she woke up, she said she wanted to see me. After leaving the hospital, I went back to school. Just like in the last life, I hoped to get into a good university. When the butler came to find me, I was organizing my wrong questions. I won't see her. I didn't even raise my head. The young lady isn't in good health. She just wants to see you. You're her biological sister. If it weren't for her, you would be married by now. I looked at him coldly. You mean that she wants me to die, and I should still thank her? The young lady didn't know about it. Do you think that's believable? The butler was at a loss for words. The Leo family has already fallen to this state. Aren't you satisfied? You're the young lady's biological sister. Why can't you give your heart to her? I picked up the pencil case and threw it at his face. Get out. The butler gave me one last look, which contained so many emotions. The one that impressed me the most was resentment. Did he resent me? I pursed my lips tightly and stared at his back without saying a word. 20. The butler had a car accident, right at the school gate, and died on the spot. I stared at the pool of blood for a long time. No one knew that only now did I finally relax the tension in my heart. The car by the roadside honked its horn. I looked over and saw that it was Caleb's car. Didn't you say you wanted to see Leo and Ryan? Caleb was flipping through some documents and said to me, I made an appointment for you for this afternoon. Do you want to go? Go. Hearing my response, Caleb wasn't surprised. He signed his name at the back of the document and talked about the butler's car accident. In the end, he only gave 2 words as an evaluation retribution. I yawned. It's a pity that Ryan and Leo are in prison. Otherwise, it would be better if this retribution fell on them. Caleb said yes. After a pause, he asked me again, did your friend really break a leg trying to find the senior? I guessed he had wanted to ask this for a long time. Under Caleb's gaze, I touched my leg and shook my head. No. Really not. Caleb looked at my leg and didn't know what to say. 21 in the prison. Through the glass. I looked at the people inside. He had a buzz cut. And his face was terrifyingly pale. Only his lips were bright red. As if they were bitten to bleed. I looked at Ryan for a long time. And finally laughed. One gets 10 years. And the other gets 8 years. I'll be waiting for you to get out. And then step on you one by one. Ryan's face was gloomy. And he squeezed his 5 fingers placed on the table. Fine. I'll try my best to get a reduced sentence so that I won't make you wait too long. As for Leo. I could shatter his superficial calmness with just one sentence. The butler died in a car accident. Leo stood up abruptly. The Leo family has gone bankrupt. Probably can't afford Hannah's medical expenses anymore. Luna. The handcuffs on Leo's hands clanged. Did you do it? Is that right? Hannah is your biological sister. I propped my chin up and looked calm. My surname is Lee. And hers is a different surname. What kind of biological sister is she? You can't treat her like this. Leo was so emotional that the prison guards forcefully pulled him down. That day, I came out of the prison. Caleb was waiting for me by the roadside. His shadow was elongated by the sunlight. And he stood there against the light. When he saw me approaching, he opened the car door for me. Don't come to see them in the future. It will affect your mood. I thought about Leo's furious and helpless appearance inside now. My mood will only get better and better. I suggest you go in and see them too. Caleb was taken aback. After a while, he said okay. I'll give it a try next time. At that time, I didn't expect that Caleb and I would really go to the prison to have some fun when we were in a bad mood later. I never expected that Ryan would die in prison before his sentence was over. He got into a fight and was stabbed to death with a utility knife. I followed Caleb to his funeral. Under the dark clouds covering the sky. The man bent slightly and said to me, I didn't believe in karma before. But now I do. I leaned close to his ear and said my friend was even reborn. Of course. There is such a thing as karma. Caleb straightened up, seemingly smiling. And gently patted my head. Let's go if you've seen enough. Do you really want to send him off? No way. I immediately followed in his footsteps and left together.